Hare Krishna, good evening. Om Ajnana Timandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shio Shri Yuda Padakamanam Shigam Vaishnavam Sa Shri Rupam Jagajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandha Jatpate Gopesha Gopka Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhani Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriye Vankha Kalptra Visha Kripa Sindhubiye Vasa Patnam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Today we will start discussing the mantras of Sri Isopanishad. How to understand and apply the Lord's proprietorship of everything. That's the subject of the first mantra. We will first chant the mantra. Mantra 1. Isavasyamidam sarvam yat kincha charatyam charat tena chakchena bunchita mahridakasya svidhanam. Everything, animate and inanimate, that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set as his quota, and one should not accept other things knowing well to whom they belong. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswata Devi Gaurvani Pacharini Nirvshesa Sunyavadi Paskachai Desatarani. Before discussing this mantra, we will first have a look about on the entirety of the Sri Isopanishad, all 18 mantras. So we have the invocation up to verse 3, and that section we are aiming to finish today. The topic is living harmony with Ishvara. We will see this first mantra. It describes the Isavasya principle. The principle that Isha, the Supreme Lord, is the proprietor of everything. And to live in harmony with that principle is the basis for Krishna consciousness, we will see. So the first 3 mantras are about this point. But then, to live in harmony with Ishvara, you must understand Ishvara. And verses 4 to 8 explain how to understand Ishvara. You need spiritual vision, that it can be understood by spiritual vision, and how to develop this vision. But then, if you understand Ishvara, and that Ishvara is the proprietor of everything, we have wrong and right and wrong acts. But these right and wrong acts are based on right and wrong vidya, knowledge. Correct and incorrect understandings of Ishvara. These are the next 4 verses. And then, when we have understood Ishvara, then we need to worship him. Worship is upasana, right and wrong worship, from 12 to 14. And then at the end it finishes with prayers to Ishvara, the spiritual seeker. We can see that the spiritual seeker, which is in some sense presented here in Shir Upanishad, he prays to Ishvara, please take away your coverings that I can know you. So what all this means, we will discover during the next days. And we are now focusing on the first section, how to live in harmony with Ishvara. Now that first section is the invocation and up to mantra 3. So that's the section under discussion now. We go to that section, and there we have the invocation. There we have learned what's the principle. Everything is perfect. Mantra 1 will say everything belongs to Ishvara. And mantra 2 will explain, if you understand that everything belongs to Ishvara, then how to live in harmony with that principle and receive the benefits of living in harmony with that principle. And mantra 3 will explain how to avoid all things that creates disharmony with regards to that principle. So these are 3 mantras of this section, which we will try to discuss today. So that is an overview. Now I think the next verse, this is an overview of the purport, Srila Prabhupada, and some parts we have already discussed in this. I think it's in the next mantra. Some parts we have already discussed. But first he speaks about the glory of the Vedic knowledge. And we discussed that before, I think, that the Supreme Lord is Apauriseo, that this is not from human origin, and therefore all the knowledge coming from the Supreme Lord is free from 4 defects that we discussed before. And we have heard that the Lord is Purnam, complete, all perfect. But now that how the Lord is the proprietor of everything, we will discuss all these aspects which are in the purport here. One's quota, different aspects of one's quota, and then finally how to live in agreement with this Issa-Vasya principle. So that's important, this Issa-Vasya principle. Issa-Vasya means that one must live with the understanding that everything belongs to Krishna, not to us. So that is what this first mantra explains. Everything belongs to Ishvara. that now moment. So only the Lord is independently perfect. He is independent. We are dependent. But we are, if we live in harmony with that Isavasya principle, we can become dependently perfect. So this verse, Isavasya midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena chaktena bunchita marhita kasyasvittanam. So Isavasya means everything is controlled by the Lord. The Lord is the Ishvar, the control of everything. And because everything belongs to Him, Bunjita, because everything belongs to Him, everything He has the right to enjoy. That we learned in Bhagavad Gita in 5.27. Bhaktaram Sakya Tapasam Sarvalokam Ashvaram Sudam Sarvabhutnam Yatvam Santim Richati. The Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer, because He is the proprietor of all planets, of everything that exists. He's the friend of the living entity, and when one knows this, he becomes peaceful, the peace former. So because everything belongs to Krishna, He is right to enjoy. Can you go to the house of your neighbor and say to your neighbor, I'm going to enjoy now here, in your house? What will he do? He will call the police, and some men will come in white jackets and take you away. So yes. But does that mean everything belongs to Krishna, we cannot enjoy? No, the verse says we have our quota. Everyone has a quota. Bunjita, we can enjoy our quota. We have all a different quota. When Queen Kunti was cooking for the Pandavas, then after cooking and offering, she took half went to Bhima, and the other part she divided for the Pandavas and herself and Draupadi. So everyone has his quota. Yes, Mother Rukmini.
Thank you, Maharaj. But I have a doubt, like that enjoying mentality we have to stop, right? That Krishna is an enjoyer and we are the enjoyee. We have to see Krishna to enjoy us. We are not the enjoyer. So this is what we are learning. So I'm a little confused that yes, I have a little quota. So that quota should be there just to keep my body and soul together. So, but enjoying word is like confusing me.
Yeah, it means we are not the enjoyer. Krishna is the first enjoyer. We offer our food to Krishna. Krishna is the first enjoyer. So we even don't use cups that are only cups that are used for Krishna, not for us. Krishna is because Krishna is the first enjoyer. And after He enjoyed, we enjoy. But we should not enjoy in a spirit of thinking ourselves the big enjoyers. Like, not that we take prasad and we are going to conquer it. No. We call it honoring prasad. And while we honoring, we are not speaking about nonsense, but we meditate on Krishna. and we taste very nicely to taste how Krishna tasted. In that sense, we are also enjoyers, and we have our quota to enjoy that, but we should remain within our quota. That's also mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. One should always take prasad and not anything else. That's the way to control the senses. But Rupa Goswami says, but if one takes too much, more than one's quota, then yes, one will not be able to control one's senses and get in problems. So yes, that it is not that we have no right of a quota, but we are part and parcels of Krishna. We are, as a part and parcel, we have the right to quota. So does that help to understand that?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj. One more thing is come in my mind, that when Radharani serves Krishna, she feels more enjoyment than Krishna. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So when we before coming to Krishna consciousness, I used to serve people, but that also not given me anything, satisfaction like the way we get when we perform pure devotional service. So we also enjoy. In this way, can I use the word enjoy here?
Well, that's true, that a pure devotee enjoys serving other devotees and Krishna. He enjoys that. But if we are not pure, we can think like that, but it's artificial. It's not really correct. But if we become pure, then you will enjoy that because you have a taste for it. But now we have taste for dead things in this world, and that's a problem. This is explained by Haridas Thakur in Harinam Chintamani, but that's another book. We are going back to Sri Isopanishad. So we can enjoy our quota in a Krishna conscious way. So everything, animate or inanimate, that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, but really necessary, which are set aside as his quota. One should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. So, how much can I eat? What's my quota? Ayurveda say you have two hands. Everyone has different hands. Hands of Bhima will be bigger. So what you can hold in your two hands is what you can digest in one time. And that is that's the maximum you can eat. If you eat more than you can digest, then a part will not digest and turn into toxins and create trouble in your body, disease and so on. Like Prabhupada such as diabetes, it's mostly diabetes comes from overeating. But not always, of course, there are exceptions in old age and so on. But these are points Prabhupada made. Interesting. Yes. Now we have this overview here on the screen we discussed. So before we go on, I want to speak about Upanishads. We remember these Upanishads is the fourth constituent of each of the Vedas. 4 constituents. Do you remember them? You have the Samhita, the text. 1, that's the first. The second is the Brahmanas, which explain how to pronounce the hymns correctly. Then you have the Aranyakas, the explanation of how to do the sacrifices for each of these Vedas. And then you have the Upanishads, the transcendental knowledge. So you have, traditionally they say there are 108 Upanishads that some say there are 64, some say there are a little more than 50. But we have here 11 Upanishads which Srila Prabhupada quotes in his books. That Isha, this is what we're discussing now, Isha Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Kata Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, Aditya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Birat Aranyaka Upanishad, Shvetasvatara Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad. Srila Prabhupada quotes them in his books. But these Upanishads, they are connected with Vedas. And you see here all these 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Yajur Veda Part 1, Yajur Veda Part 2, it's called black and white, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. So what's the difference between the Krishna and the Shukla, the black or the white Ayurveda? Well, the black is the first part and the white is the second part. But it's divided in 2 parts because they could identify Upanishads to each of them. So the Shees Upanishad belongs to the Yajur Veda, the white. Yajur Veda Part 2. Yeah, Jai Advaita Prabhu. Yes, please. Any question? No. Okay. So you have.
Sorry, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Sorry, my mic was on mute. These Upanishads, why, if they're part of the Vedas, why there is so much doubt, even around, amongst the scholars, they're always arguing about the authenticity of the Upanishads and the timeline when they were written. I hear it more often than not, like a lot of the so-called Shunyavadi, especially like those people who are very intelligent to bend the facts and talk about, they use Upanishads, likes of, there's this guy, again I won't name it because we are on YouTube, but he's very notoriously using Upanishads to spread irreligion in uneducation amongst the youth, especially in India, and he's starting to reach out to overseas. So why there is so much doubt around Upanishads, even though are they bona fide or they're not bona fide?
Well, we have, as I started to say, there are 108, there are 64, there are more than 50. So there are different opinions about the authenticity of these Upanishads, and that's certainly true. But Srila Prabhupada follows the Guru Parampara, and we accept the Upanishads that were used by our Acharyas. Because I know there are also Upanishads are considered to be very old, but there are also new Upanishads that are invented recently. so that is a whole thing that, yes, to say something meaningful about that, I should study it much deeper. I studied it at the university, Vedas and Upanishads, as an introduction to the matter. But that discussion appeared there already. Yes, that's true. But these Upanishads mentioned here are connected with certain Vedas, and that must have is authenticity. That, of course, it is not within the realm of this course to go deeper into that. I just wanted to show the Shis Upanishad is related to the Ajurveda, and that's confirmed by Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a point of discussion. Yes, thank you.
One last question: Who wrote the Upanishads?
Who wrote the Upanishads? There are different authors. I think Srila Prabhupada he mentions something in the introduction about it. That because I read it, but I may not be too much. Yeah. I read it somewhere that the name of the author, that, but I cannot identify it now. That,
Okay.
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 Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, before we come to that, we have this. So there are 11 Upanishads that are considered very important among the 108 Upanishads. Each name relates to the contents. If we go back to this, so these names relate to the contents, like Prashna Upanishad means questions. Brihat Aranyaka, Brihat means big. It's quite a large Upanishad. That the Upanishad is very small. Yeah, it's quite large, but the Upanishad we are discussing today is very small. It contains only 18 mantras. So a tradition that wants to establish itself must comment on the Upanishads, on the Bhagavad Gita, on the Vedanta Sutra. Must comment on the two prasthans. That you have this thing further, and I have this slide now. This prasthan traya in Vedanta, we showed it on the previous slide. The Shruti, which are the Vedas, the Smriti, which are the Puranas, the Itihas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Pancharatra, and the Nyaya. Nyaya are the Vedanta Sutras. But we will not focus on these commentaries, but on Srila Prabhupada's purport. We want to understand Srila Prabhupada's mood. We will look at the flow of Sri Upanishad as explained by Srila Prabhupada. So, yes, just a moment. So, about the Vedas that we already explained. Now we come to that point of, again, to Prabhupada's purport here. We have the overview here. How the Lord is the proprietor of everything. That concept of proprietorship has fascinated people. Alexander the Great wanted to rule the entire world, but Srila Prabhupada gives cross-reference of Bhagavad Gita 7.4 Bhumirapanalapaya Kamanamanabuddhaif Shankaritya Bina Pragati Ashtata Aparyamitastvamyam Pragatim Vidame Param. So these verses 7.4 and 7.5 in Bhagavad Gita explain the elements of material nature, and Krishna says these are my separate energies. And I've also higher energies which comprises the spirit soul. So the spiritual and material energies are Krishna's energies. He's the proprietor. So the energy belongs to the energetic. That is the principle. So how long can we call us a proprietor? Then there is devastation soon. Who is the owner? We have it only for a short amount of time. Our proprietorship is illusory in that sense. Everything belongs to the Supreme Lord. We can be evicted from the body at every moment. So where does nature, where does it come from? That source is God, Isha, described here. So atheists say that things come by chance, but that's not a fact. Does a bridge collapse by chance? No, there is a cause. But if there is no pattern of possibilities given, and then just say that it is by chance, then that cannot be accepted as a reason. The word using as a causal principle is misleading. Logically, everything comes from something. There must be something. That something is beyond the scope of science. For this we need to turn to the scriptures. We may not be able to prove that Krishna is God, but it is logical that everything must come from something. That when it is under my care, I should take care of it. But there is a quota. And Srila Prabhupada gives in the purport an example of how we understand that quota. Like cow's milk is designated as milk for human beings. The cow gives more milk than the calves can drink. So the cow is a person, and when the cow feels secure, then it produces more milk. You can see that in our gaushals. That is the arrangement by nature. But there is a quote in Human Position of the Earth, and then we speak about communism. Prabhupada speaks about communism and capitalism. So if we have a house, everything what made a house comes from nature. The ingredients of nature are not owned by me. What is made of the ingredients belongs to the Lord. Srila Prabhupada would highlight this point. So one morning when he was at Juhu Beach in Bombay, about at 6 o'clock, more or less, when the sun came up, he was making a walk at the ocean, at the beach. I was there maybe 20 years ago, and I was thinking I'm going to do the same, to make a walk at the beach, Juhu Beach. And I went to the beach at 6 o'clock when the sun came up. But unfortunately, there were thousands and thousands of people with the same idea. It was not so peaceful. But of course, Mumbai today, I don't know, 30 million people or more, I don't know. that. But anyway, at that time, Srila Prabhupada with his disciples was making a walk. And on the way, he came across a man who was dressed very nicely with a white cotton shirt and this Gandhi hat. And he came to offer his pranams to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And the man said, "Oh, I'm an industrialist." "Oh," Prabhupada said, "and what are you making?" And the man said, "We are making glass." And Prabhupada was asking, "Glass? From what is it made?" And the man said, it's made from silicone, it's made from sand. And Prabhupada asked, "Well, who made the sand?" And Prabhupada, the man was a little pious and said, "The sand comes from Bhagavan." And then Prabhupada said, "Oh, you are stealing from Bhagavan?" And the man was shocked and he went away. So Prabhupada continued walking and then walked back. And the man came back and said, and went to Prabhupada and said to Prabhupada, but I'm giving charity," the man said. And Prabhupada said, "Oh, that's nice. Then you are a little thief." But yes, that one must, if we do not acknowledge the proprietorship of the Lord, then we can be punished. You have this battle between communist and capitalism, which Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport of Shisa Upanishad here in this mantra. This was problematic during the Cold War and after the Second World War. It's today's also an issue for sure. But Srila Prabhupada is giving this example that people are battling over the world, thinking that the world belongs to them. Srila Prabhupada writes, "Men face one another in enmity and snarl just like cats and dogs. Shisa Upanishad cannot give advice to cats and dogs, but it can deliver the message of Godhead to men through the bona fide acharyas, to the holy teachers." The Srila Prabhupada is sarcastic here. They are snarling just like cats and dogs. This is mine, this is mine. So one country will destroy another country. It's like cats and dogs. In capitalism and communism, both are claiming they are right, but they are wrong, as everything belongs to God. That's the point Srila Prabhupada makes here in this purport. Now you can see here how the Brahmanas rules and how the Kshatriyas rules. That this is the Varnashram system. Srila Prabhupada makes the point, Krishna exists in the spiritual realm. In the material world we have 4 Varnas. The Brahmins, they are most close to Krishna, because they know the spiritual truth. Brahmins are close to the spiritual realm, and therefore they are considered as Bhudeva, like gods on earth. Brahmins are an anomaly in the material world. So the Brahmins are a connection between the spiritual and the material world by their teachings of Shastra and their way of living. The Kshatriyas, they focus on the material realm. They are called Naradevs, representative of God among human beings. So the Brahmins tell how to live according to Shastra. But some will not live according to Shastra. If some will not live according to Shastra, then the Kshatriyas will punish them. So this proprietorship of God is acknowledged by the Brahmins. The Kshatriyas publicly and privately remain devoted to God. They are subordinate to God and the Brahmins. Through their actions, they teach that they are the servant of God. The king must give the example as the caretaker of everything, not the possessor of enjoyer. So this is the Vedic system. There must be an evolution of consciousness so that people do not become greedy to possess land. So you have this pyramid here. Take in the next this. So let's compare the communism and capitalism, two socio-economic systems. Interesting, Prabhupada, you find that all in his books, that comparison of socio-economic systems. About communism, he says, it imposes artificial material equality. Because those who are talented, they are not rewarded. Therefore people become lethargic. Most people live in scarcity and they stay dissatisfied. That's a problem with communism. Then capitalism. Capitalism allows wealth to determine position and power. What's the problem there? The wealthy exploit the needy. There is cutthroat competition and insecurity. Everybody is greedy for money, so everyone is dissatisfied. Same result, dissatisfied. Now the Varnashram, it integrates spiritual equality of all people with their material diversity. And everyone is engaged according to their nature. They work diligently and happily, and society gets the maximum benefit. In communism, everything belongs to the people. It imposes artificial material equality. The talented are not rewarded, the lazy stay lazy, and the talented are not rewarded. All people are equal, but some people are more equal, George Orwell said. We see that in the communistic system. The exploitive mentality came up within communism and destroys the system. Capitalism is position and power. Those with wealth exploit others. Cultivation of greed is there, and one remains dissatisfied. In the Varnashram, as souls, everything is equal. But realistic is that we are materially different. The overall system created by God, the Varnashram system, is there because everyone is then all engaged according to his nature. They all live cooperatively because they understand that everything belongs to God. Thus they work for spiritual advancement. Now, in the next paragraph, Srila Prabhupada speaks about quota. Our quota, yeah, so this is the comparison that I mentioned before on the screen. That, yes, that's the next subject matter. That brings us to the quota in human diet. So today many eat non-vegetarian food and they think that this is the standard way to eat. Human beings are meant to eat vegetarian food. Because the human anatomy, we see we do not have nails to kill animals, and our digestive system is similar to that of the vegetarians. Therefore, human beings are meant to eat vegetarian food. The animals will not be killed if we are all vegetarian. Then we have several times more land to feed human people. One meat eater can feed 10 vegetarians in terms of land. Need to feed a person, he needs 10 times more land than one meat eater, because the vegetables are eaten by the animals and then converted into flesh. Now we come to that point: do plants not feel pain? Mandaleshwar Prabhu, please.
Maharaj,
Yeah.
that in Vedas it is already mentioned that Gautam Buddha has taken the place in here to Ahimsa, but it's already mentioned that before also they were killing the animals, or it was mentioned in Vedas like that. Ahimsa was going on that time also, and now that people were eating that before also. The Buddhas came in this India. So what was the question? That was the question.
Well, your voice was breaking up. Can you summarize the point that you want to make, please?
Maharaj, I'm asking a question that in Vedas sometimes it's mentioned like that you can eat non-veg like that because Buddha has taken avatar in this for to protect animals, and he told that not to kill animals. And before Buddha came, they all were trying to eat animals in India also.
Yeah,
that was mentioned in Vedas. It was rejected like that.
I get your point. There are some stipulations in the Vedas that if one still wants to eat meat, then one, Srila Prabhupada explains that in his lectures, then one can offer a goat to the goddess Kali with once a month. That shows already that it should be very much restricted, once a month, and with a certain mantra. And the mantra says that please accept this offering and of this goat, and as recompensation I will get the body of a goat in my next life and be killed in the same way. That's what the mantra says. So, but somewhere or another people became degraded and started to misuse these quotations in the Vedas, which factually discourage meat eating. They started to use it to eat meat and commit violence, and they became so degraded by it that Buddha came, as Krishna came as Buddha, and rejected the Vedas, said you follow just these principles of ahimsa to get them out of this meat eating and this sinful condition. Of course, then later Sankaracharya came to establish the Vedas again, and as a first stage, and then later Madhvacharya and so on. It was Krishna's plan, but they were misusing the Vedas for meat eating. That's not the best history, but thank you for bringing that up. Good point. So do plants not feel pain? That we have. Plants have a less developed nervous system and will feel less pain than animals. I should cause as less as possible pain to others. That's the principle. But if crops, when they are not harvested, then they perish, but animals are killed long before their natural death, when they are in the prime of health. Srila Prabhupada makes quotes here, don't kill the animals, you can eat the meat when they die naturally, he said. Intuitive, we see the difference. A slaughterhouse is horrific, there's blood everywhere, but harvesting, it's joyous. Children can partake. That, yes, parents do not want their children to see the slaughtering in their slaughterhouse. So Srila Prabhupada then makes the point, we need to eat according to our quota, therefore we should be vegetarian. But that brings us to the point, are humans omnivorous? Because we have canine teeth. So herbivorous are those who are eating vegetarian, herbs, grass. Omnivorous means those who are eating meat and vegetarian. But if you look, we have only a few canine teeth. That means meat is only a small part of the diet, if at all. If one wants to eat meat, then the Vedic system allows that under regulation. We just spoke about that. The worship of Kali, Mamsaha. Here is a translation of the mantra. That as I am now, I will be. I kill the throat of the goat and will in the next life take the form of a goat and be killed by others. But we are, so why? But we are Prasadians, we can say. The perfection of life is not just to avoid karmic entanglement, less or more. It is to acknowledge and love the Lord. So we eat Krishna Prasad. Because the perfection of life is to love the Lord, not just to avoid karmic entanglement. For this we need to acknowledge the Lord. We thank the Lord for the food. I was raised as a Christian, a Catholic, and at home before each meal we were praying, thanking God for giving us this food. So that is a kind of the beginning of an acknowledgement that everything belongs to the Lord. Of course, that's not sufficient, but that's the beginning of acknowledging that. But of course, the principle is explained. It is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Sakhnartha karmano yatra lokyam karma bandha. When one does everything for the satisfaction of the Lord, then there is no karmic reaction. no karmic entanglement in that. And the Bhagavad Gita also says, of course, 3.13, Jahya Sistasina Santa Muchante Savakilbishai Bunchate Tet Prampapam Ye Pachantat Makaranat. The devotees are released from all sin because they eat food which is offered first for sacrifice. Others will prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, eat only sin. So therefore we offer the food to the Lord, to the deities, we chant mantras. Then what remains is free from sinful reaction. It purifies food of karmic reactions. So when the food is offered to Krishna, then it is purified and filled with Krishna's potency. It is bhakti. It is bhakti filled, full of bhakti. It elevates us to develop love of the Lord. Our goal is to acknowledge the Lord and to love the Lord. Therefore, we need to purify ourselves from all sinful contamination. So, if we sing always this Sarira Avidya Jal prayer, this prayer is deep. They are elevated prayers. We thank for the purification and elevation. So the point is recognizing, acknowledging and loving the Lord. So that is the point here in the first mantra of Shisa-Upanishad, and now we will continue with the second mantra. Just a moment. I have to. Yes. I bring it on the screen here also. First mantra 2. There it is. And bring it on the screen. Share. 2. So, how karma can be spiritualized? That's the subject of the next. So, we see we have gone to the invocation. We have learned everything is perfect whole. Everything belongs to Ishvara, but now to how to live in harmony with that Isavasya principle. We have here, and this is the overview of the second mantra, but I will first recite mantra 2. Mantra 2. Kovanevea karmani Jisifi sekshatam sama evam tvainan yate tosti na karma lipyate nare. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative in this way for man. So the longer sinful people live, the more karmic reactions they accumulate, and the more they will have to suffer. If a sinful person lives long, that will create more suffering in next lives. But for a devotee to live long is a blessing. And the verse says there is no other way. This means there is no other intelligent way to live. If one wants to come down from the 20th floor of a building by jumping out of the window, then that is danger. The intelligent way is to take the stairs or the lift. So if you don't live harmoniously, then there is no other way to live, because there is no karmic bondage. So, and then we have this overview here, that and then we we'll discuss the first point, how karma bandhana causes death. So why is there death? Human life offers liberation through akarma. That's the second paragraph. Because nobody wants to die. How does one come out of it? Now, how will we learn about akarma? We learn by, and that's the fourth paragraph, by bringing God into sense gratificatory life. And then the last point Prabhupada makes in the Prabhupada is, make all altruism means different kinds of beneficial activities done for others. Turn it into karma yoga. Essentially, akarma is pure devotional service. In the Prabhupada starts, no one wants to die. How karma bandhana causes death? The soul is illuminated. The soul illuminates the body. Chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, 13:34. Yata prakasayatye ka krishnam lokam idam ravi. Kshatran kshatri tata krishnam prakasayati bharata. O son of Bharat, as the sun alone illuminates this universe, so does the living entity within the body illuminates the entire body by consciousness. So the soul is eternal. The body is temporary. The soul experiences the miseries of death because of the attachment to the body. Like in a movie the hero dies, everyone in the audience is shocked, because the audience is emotionally attached to the body, that they get affected, and they get affected when the hero dies. But the soul cannot suffer. But the soul identifies with the body. This is misidentification. To the extent that we want to enjoy material things, we become bound by the material energy. Material life is just a horror movie. The ultimate end is death. The soul suffers the pain of immortality because it is bound by the desire to enjoy. The desire to enjoy causes this karma bandhana. Human life offers liberation through akarmana. In the human life, we can perceive the spiritual beyond the material. I think here, there are these three types of karma which are explained in Bhagavad Gita. So the word karma can have 4 different meanings. Karma can mean any kind of action of work. Any action can be called karma, my work. Sometimes when we are suffering, we say, I'm suffering because of my karma. Here one refers to the reactions of karma, not to karma. And then you have the cycle of action and reaction is also called karma. That's the third meaning. And the fourth meaning of karma is given here. Actions which are performed in terms of prescribed duties as mentioned in the revealed scriptures. This can also be called sukarma or good karma, acting morally responsible. And the opposite of this is vikarma, bad karma, actions which are performed by the misuse of one's freedom, which direct one to lower forms of life. So akarma does not mean no action or inaction. Rather, it means action that produces no reaction. That's akarma. Action which frees one from the cycle of birth and death. If we act for the pleasure of Krishna, there is no reaction. When the patient cooperates with the doctor, then the patient's recovery is smoother, is easier. Akarma is that we understand that the movie in this world is illusion. There is no involvement, emotional involvement with the film. This is the mental platform, is the film. We are all in this film. So when I'm in the army and I shoot the enemy, then I get a medal of honor from the government because I served the government. But outside the war, if I kill someone, I will go to prison. Then that is not authorized by the government. So, Jachnarta Karmanoyatra Lopayam Karmabandhanam Tatartam Karmakantya Mukta Sangatsamacha. Krishna says work done has been done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Otherwise it causes bondage in this world. Therefore, son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duty for his satisfaction, and in that way will always remain free from bondage. Factually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. Because often people ask, is spiritual life a supplement or a complement for material life? Does it complete material life? Actually, spiritual life is not a supplement or a complement. It is a replacement for material life. We are meant to go to the spiritual world and live entirely spiritual. Before we come to that, we may think spiritual life as an optional additional activity. But that is an ignorant vision. It is essential that we bring God into our lives. So the Vedas lead ultimately to akarma. That Srila Prabhupada in the purport. These isms are certainly very attractive forms of karma bandhana, karmic bondage. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Upanishad is that if one actually wants to live for any of the above isms, it should make them God-centered, Prabhupada says. So normally, people think that these forms of ism, such as altruism, are very attractive, but it leads to karma bandhana. Even nationalism is a form of karma bandhana. Without adding God, one will not be able to go on without karma bandhana. Therefore, Prabhupada advises to spiritualize all ism. So I want a good spouse, I want wealth, power, that is what people want. There is a cycle of dharma and a cycle of sense gratification. The area where both cycles intersect is karma bandhana. This is religious materialism that is the beginning of most people's spiritual life. Then they love God, but they love things in this material world. This is called karmakanda. In karmakanda there will be at least some elevation, gradually. Srila Prabhupada to Indians, he said, Bhagavad Gita is your heritage, so why don't you share Krishna consciousness with the world? Teach it. Srila Prabhupada would encourage Indians based on their ethnic identity. If you share Krishna consciousness with the world, then the world will become Hindustan, he said. Srila Prabhupada used their material attraction to act in the realm of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada said to the Americans, do something wonderful through engagement in devotional service. So, yes. So spiritualize apara dharma. So Bhagavad Gita 2.13. The body does not change, even when the body changes. This is philosophical knowledge. Philosophically, it proposes to reject the body. However, in 2.14, Krishna is telling that matraspastikantia sitasnasya sukadukada agamape paino nityas tam stitikshas svabharata. You have to tolerate, he says. O son of Kunti, you have to tolerate that to tolerate this bodily situation. Although we are not a body, still the fact that we are identified with the body. We use our body identity to elevate people to God consciousness. So we don't massage or pinch the body or the false ego, which is identifying with the body. So, if we say India is great and is the ruler of the world, we are massaging our false ego. We don't do that. We also don't say India is useless, poor people are starving, mismanagement. Then it becomes denigrating, insulting. So people identify with their culture. And to tell them all this is false, it's heavy, it's pinching the false ego. So it's better to tell them act in a great way. Don't be caught up in this body identification. So there's no need to reject people's body identity, but to encourage them to use their body identification in spiritual activities. Srila Prabhupada spoke to bodybuilders. He said, in societies, kshatriyas are needed. That good, Prabhupada said, your ideal, he said to the bodybuilders, is Hanuman. Hanuman is always the chanting the names of Ram. So during your exercises, you chant the name of Ram. Srila Prabhupada encourages people to use their body identification to practice Dharma. So we don't have to be dismissive about material engagement if they can be spiritualized. Encourage people to offer their food and give it out in charity. We cannot expect people to come from the kindergarten of spiritual life to the doctorate level. The Vedic literature offers levels of spiritual practice. We can warn people that if one is not practicing spiritual life, then their life will be zero or wasted. So put a 1 in front of the zeros. Srila Prabhupada, there is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist or a socialist, a communist, a nationalist or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Isavasya, the God-centered concept. Here Srila Prabhupada gives an example how we can encourage people to begin their spiritual life. We are not against the Grihastha ashram, but we keep God in the center. First, the person thinks that is my house is everything. Then he goes to the temple. After that he brings the deity into his house. Then he becomes aware that God is in the heart. And Galdi becomes a devotee. So there is a progression. So without God, everything is in vain. The Srila Prabhupada makes the point. With God we flourish, without God we perish. Now with God, whatever we will do will stay for us for a long time. So Krishna described, on this part is no dose or diminution. Actually, speaking in spiritual life, whatever we do can have eternal benefit. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, a humble God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. A person may not be famous or rich, but a person devoted to God will reach the ultimate destination. If God is not there, then whatever we do is not good enough to get out of the karmic bondage. Without God, I stay in the material realm. So, Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of the second canto, he says, a tree is living for hundreds of years, but there is no point to live such a long life. What makes a life valuable, it's not the length, but its contents. Important is how a person lives. Those who are not making spiritual advancement in life, they live a life like cats and dogs. Living like a tree or an animal is not inglorious. Then we deprive ourselves from our higher potential. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor, because they will guarantee him a human form in the next life. In this way we can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. So yes, in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 37 to 45, it's described how one takes birth in a devotee family if one does not reach perfection, and then can make further advancement. So the point is, add God to your life. If you do not, then your life is wasted. Even if you apply God consciousness only partially in your life, human form and opportunities for further advancement are guaranteed for devotees. So one can live in harmony with Dharma. So at the end of the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, how one can execute God-centered activities is elaborately explained in the book Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as the Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Sri Ishapari Upanishad. Srila Prabhupada refers to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. That is how to do it, how to live in harmony with the Itsavasya principle. Because when we read Nectar of Devotion, then it speaks, of course, about Bhakti Yoga, not about Karma Yoga. Srila Prabhupada, in your karma, bring yoga, bring God into it. So once people get into that, then they are ready to get a more complete understanding of bhakti. It's a gradual process. People are so attached to material life, but then he encouraged them to bring God in their life, and then later Nectar of Devotion. So Srila Prabhupada's purport is a masterpiece of gradually elevating people. Srila Prabhupada wrote his purports in early Bhakti Goddess. At the same time, Srila Prabhupada had not yet written Nectar of Devotion. This paragraph is not there in the original Bhakti Goddess. It has been added later. So Srila Prabhupada is also demonstrating a progression in the Vedic literature. A person wants to enjoy material life. That's the first step, karma kanda, and then bring God in your life, next step. And then, after that, then lead the person to books where it is explained that God is not meant to be a facilitator of material life, but the goal is to love God himself. So the ultimate goal of Dharma is to bring us from material to spiritual life. So is there any question on this second mantra? It's So it's now 10 to 9. Yes, Mother Rukmini.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. I'm just liking the way you are teaching, like you are giving heading to each of the paragraph and telling everything. It will really help us in future also, right now, also in understanding. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Maharaj, the last slide you were showing why we are designating ourselves with a body, although we are a soul. So, Maharaj, can you please tell one or two lines for this?
Yeah, that's explained in Bhagavad Gita. We are identifying with the body because we live in the duality our entire existence practically, of attachment and aversion. What's good for the body, what's bad for the body. And that is a symptom of someone in the body concept of life. Is always busy what gives pleasure to me, to my mind, to happiness of the body and the mind. And what gives the stress we don't want, we make plans to avoid all this stress. And that's material existence. Spiritual existence is different. That's explained in Nectar of Instruction. There we accept what's favorable for loving Krishna and what's not favorable for loving Krishna. And then, if we do that, we start to live as a spirit soul and not as the body. Of course, we know that Arjuna says to Krishna after 3:30, yes, this duality, Krishna, but what forces me to become absorbed in this duality, although I do not want it? And he says lust. Therefore, the first thing we have to remove is lust from our system, because that makes us identify with the body. And if we have become purified, then it becomes more easy to identify with the soul. That's the process of purification. That's a summary of that principle. Good. Let's pause now till I think it's just for 9 minutes till 8 minutes till 9 o'clock, and then we will just give the intro to mantra 3. Thank you.